into Applebee's, ladies and gentlemen, for another edition of Monday Night Quarterback, here brought to you by WFUV Sports. Drew Casey and Corey Miller. And Corey, we saw quite the game this past weekend against Holy Cross. Fordham eventually gets the 47-41 victory, and we're going to get right to it. We're going to talk to fourth-year head coach Joe Moorhead. And, Coach, thanks for being with us. Another wild win.
Great to be back, fellas. It certainly was.
Yeah, it certainly was a wild win indeed. Let's get right down to it. We'll try and go chronologically as to the way this game went. It starts, Kevin Anderson coming into the game has thrown 3 interceptions all season. He throws 2 interceptions on the first 2 possessions. Holy Cross goes up 10-0. What's going through your head at that point?
We need to stay the course. You know, it certainly wasn't the opening sequence that we hoped for on either side of the ball. And you look back to our first 7 games, and you know we've had a turnover in a number of them, and you know, either I've got to start calling better plays or we've got to do a little bit better job executing. We talk about start fast, finish strong, and certainly we didn't do that, this week.
Yeah, you started fast against Penn, but then this week the first quarter was all Holy Cross.
Yeah.
Coming out of the first quarter, were you a little worried, or scoring that touchdown late in that first quarter, was that kind of giving you momentum and maybe giving you more confidence as you guys headed into the second quarter and the rest of the game?
There's still plenty of game left after the first quarter, and I think that speaks to the culture of our program, where programs who are used to habitual losing have something negative happen and they wonder, oh, here we go again, we're going to lose the game, as opposed to teams that are built on a solid foundation, and when negative things occur or adversity strikes, they figure out how we're going to win the game. And I think the kids just weathered the storm, as we talked about, and figured out a way to get it turned around.
Is there anything that you saw maybe from an X's and O's perspective that changed in that second quarter, down 17-7 after 1, and then you outscore Holy Cross 20-0 in the second?
No, I think we stuck with our game plan. I think we settled down, got our feet underneath us, started running the ball a little bit better, and as we've talked about, time and time again, when we have the ability to run the ball successfully and get Chase going, it creates some matchups for us on the perimeter, and we were able to take advantage of those in the pass game, and started getting a little bit better tempo, moving the ball with a little bit more effectiveness, and we were able to score some points, and we also settled down defensively.
One thing we talked to Coach Breiner about before the game was the special teams, and in this game you had the long return by Corey, of course, and then Jihaad had a long one, and then the touchdown, and oftentimes we talk about Joe Pavlik, but overall special teams is an important part of this game, and that was a big aspect of your win. Can you just touch on that?
No, certainly. The return for a touchdown and the 2 long returns. There were a couple times when you'd like to take advantage of the short fields, particularly in the first half, as you were mentioning. But the one missed extra point and the one missed field goal were really the only 2 negatives out of the whole thing. Aside from that, I think we did a pretty good job on special teams, particularly on the return units, and held Khalif Raymond, who's one of the top punt returners in the country, below his average, and it's a third of the game, and when you're able to win that third, it gives you an excellent opportunity to be successful.
Here at Applebee's on Monday Night Quarterback with head coach Joe Moorhead of the Fordham football team. Coach, you talk about special teams right there. Let's head back to the offense. Somebody who necessarily hasn't been a huge name in the lineup because of injury and because of some of the the younger freshman receivers shining is Bern Johnson, but he had quite the day. He picked up 2 touchdowns. How nice of it is it to have him back in the lineup?
No, it's great, and Ben's a guy that has kind of bided his time here. He's had I don't know if you call it misfortune, but the reality of sitting behind Sam Ajala the past 3 years, and he's had an opportunity this year, and it was a few weeks ago, but he was the starter against Army and had a couple nice catches for first downs in that game, and then unfortunately got injured versus Villanova, and allowed Jonathan to step in there and got himself healthy again, had an opportunity, and made 2 critical plays for us. So it was great to see Ben get back into it and help impact the game in a positive manner.
Flipping from offense to defense, we've seen at times the defense be exceptional in the Villanova game and the Army game stand out. But in recent memory, at least the end of the Penn game, and then with this one, they've struggled, especially in the air. Of course, Puyas had a lot of throwing yards. I think it was over 500 or something crazy like that. He just threw the ball a lot. But is there any startling problems regarding that, or are you not too worried?
No. Anytime you give up, over 42 games in a row, there's an area or a part of you that needs to figure out what's happening and work to rectify the issues. They in both games they've thrown it around quite a bit. They, I won't say completely abandoned the run, but they threw the ball 70 times. and then they only completed 50% of them, but 50% of 70 is 35, and you can handle the underneath throws, you can handle the bubbles and some of the shorter things that you're able to tackle and get on the ground. To me, the biggest issue is the explosive plays and the ones that get thrown over our heads. So, certainly if teams are going to struggle to run the ball against us and commit to throwing it, there's some things that we're going to have to do to, just make sure that we're putting our kids in a good position to be successful with the game plan. And then when we do that, practice it well during the week and then not abandon our fundamentals and techniques during the course of the game.
And that's, of course, you got to give, I guess, a little bit of credit to Peter Pugliese.
No, he's a great player.
Probably the second best quarterback in the Patriot League. Was there anything that that he did very, very well in the game on Saturday that made it even more difficult for you guys to try and contain? Or
I think in general, him being a guy that can extend the play with his feet when it breaks down, makes you wary of him, from that regard. But to credit Coach Gilmore and Coach Rock, the offensive coordinator, I think they did a good job. Mixing up some looks, and quite frankly, he's one of the better quarterbacks in the league. And you look at the Flaherty kid, who I believe led the league in receptions coming into the game. Yep. The Wyzora kid who got hurt was an all-league receiver last year. Khalif Raymond's a speedster, and they had the Blaze Bell, the slash kind of kid going through there. So they've got some talent on the perimeter. But certainly I think we match up well on the back end with most people, and we're going to have to work to improve our pass defense moving forward.
We talk about the Ram Crusader Cup a lot, and of course next year's the big event at Yankee Stadium. But when you look at your schedule and you see a team like Holy Cross, sort of a rivalry game, are you prepared that that's going to be a battle every season?
Yes, certainly every Patriot League game is, and to a certain extent, Holy Cross, with them being a Jesuit school with a trophy on the line. But we talked about on Sunday, this isn't the Fordham of old. We're the defending league champions who's won a lot of games over the past 3 years, so no longer do we go into a game and get anything less than everyone's best. So we have to be prepared as a top 10 team in the country and a defending champion that no matter who we play, they're going to be geared up to play us. They're probably going to have a great week of practice. Their emotions are going to be sky high, and they're going to game plan to knock us off our perch. So we're more than willing and ready to accept that challenge.
Coach, somebody that we touched on briefly so far and got to touch on him a little bit more, and we seem to do it every week. He continues to put in good games, is Chase Edmonds, 162 yards and 4 TDs. Let's take a listen to the 4th TD, and then we'll talk about it.
A goal for Fordham at the 7-yard line. A score wins it here. Overtime. Holy Cross has missed a field goal already. 3 wide. Edmonds to the right of Anderson. They'll give it to Edmonds, running near side. He's got a leg to the end zone, and he walks in for the score. Ball game over. Fordham wins it 47-41 in the Ram Crusader Cup. And this place at Jack Coffey Field is going absolutely berserk.
So, Coach, Chase Edmonds sort of takes over in overtime. He gets all the carries. I believe it was 5 carries, culminating in the touchdown. Did anything go into that? Did he come up to you and say, give me the ball, or anything like that? What went into the decision process there?
Who was that on the call, though? Was that you?
That was me.
That was awesome.
Thank you.
But, yeah, there's not a time where Chase doesn't want the ball in his hands. So to say specifically in that situation, no, but he wants it all the time. And, the great thing was when we won the toss and elected to go on defense first, it was critical for our defense to get a stop there, and that was vitally important for them to, build confidence moving forward and get that stop. And I said, it's just like Bucknell, fellas. If you hold them to 0 or 3, we're going to win the game. It's going to be over. We're going to score a touchdown. And the defense held them to 0. And, to me, there was no sense in trying to do anything fancy down there. Our line had been blocking extremely well. Chase has been doing a great job running it. We ran it 4 times, and I believe actually there was a stoppage of play. It came over, and we were talking about what play to run, and actually he and Garrick suggested the play that we ran. We had one play called, and Chase said, give it to me, and Garrick said, run behind me. I said, all right, sounds like a plan. So we called that play, and Garrick pulled around, and, Chase got to the corner of the end zone, and, great by all those guys.
Overtime thriller, of course, but again, Coach, the crowd was there. And of course, earlier in the season, one of the memorable crowds that stands out was the homecoming weekend, but that's because it's homecoming weekend. This was, yes, the Ram Crusader Cup has a little more oomph to it, but it didn't have that big environment. Yeah. However, there was a great showing again, and this just continues to be the theme. Are you continually being happy with the show up of the fans and all that?
Yeah, I mean, to be brutally honest, my expectation level was that the game be sold out every week. Yeah. I mean, we're in an era of unprecedented success for Fordham University football, and I think our kids have earned the right to have the stadium packed every game. And, we're responsible for the product we put on the field. It's exciting. It's high scoring. We're 20-2 at home since 2012. It was a great job of people. I would love to see it more than sold out, so we see people standing on the sidelines. But yeah, that's my expectation level. Anything less than that to me is not what I would expect. But yeah, there was a great turnout. It was good to see people there, loud and vocal, particularly in the fourth quarter. So, I expect the remainder of our home games to be sold out.
Coach, 6-1 on the season, 10th or 11th in the polls, depending on which you go by now. Congratulations on the win. You're going to come back and join us and preview Lehigh coming up this weekend in just a sec.
Appreciate it, fellas.
Well, you just heard Coach Moorhead take a look back at this past weekend's win over Holy Cross 47-41. We're going to dive into it a little bit more with offensive coordinator Andrew Breiner on this X's and O's segment. And, Coach, first off, thanks for being with us here tonight.
Thank you guys, as always, for having me. You guys do a great job, and I'm glad to be a part of it.
Thanks very much, Coach. We really appreciate that. After the Penn game last weekend, we saw each other outside as we were headed to the bus, and you said, you gave us quite a game to call. Well, you did that again this weekend.
I know, and when we talked on Saturday morning, we had hoped, and we all were in agreement upon that we were not going to make it quite as exciting this week, but, that wasn't in the cards, and you got another chance to make a great call.
Well, we certainly did. And, Coach, you scored 47. You focused on the offense. What are some of the things that worked really well for the offense this weekend?
I think it's what we talked about on Saturday morning. I think it's the maintaining the balance, run to pass, and having what we do complement each other and make it difficult on the defense. Talking to Coach Kasherba, the defensive coordinator for Holy Cross before the game, and you gave me the best compliment in the world. You guys are really simple, but you make it really hard to prepare because everything complements each other. So I think we continue to do that. We continue to hand the ball to number 22, and good things continue to happen. He's a special player that has an offensive line and a tight end and then the receivers too. Straining to make blocks down the field to create big runs, and we continue to make some explosive plays in the pass game. As you were talking to Coach Moorhead, we need to do a better job of protecting the football. But it's maintaining balance and playing with tempo and creating explosive plays.
Coming into this game, Kevin Anderson only had 3 interceptions, and we were complimenting him on his discipline and how well he's played. What did you see on those 2 throws? I know one was tipped, but what did you see on those 2 throws, the interceptions to start the game?
Yeah, the first one was just a coverage recognition issue. Holy Cross did a great job kind of breaking from what they had shown on tape and disguised coverages a different way. Kevin got caught with his eyes in the wrong place and made a decision without having all the information. And when you do that, you're going to turn the football over. And then on the second one, kind of more of a bad break. Could have maybe placed the ball in a slightly different spot to throw it over a guy, but, tip ball goes up in the air, and it's a 50-50 proposition from there. We saw on the other end that the ball went straight up in the air for Holy Cross, and their guy comes down with it, and it's an incredible play. But when the other team catches it, it's quarterback made a mistake again. So the first one, bad eye discipline. Second one, a little bit of a tough break.
One of the weapons that Kevin Anderson had at his disposal in this game that he didn't necessarily have in the previous games, except really in the Army game, the first game of the year, it was Bern Johnson. Gets 2 TDs. The senior only catches 3 passes, but 2 of them get into the end zone. How nice of it was it to have him back?
It's not a bad ratio going 2 for 3 with touchdowns. No, it was great. Coach Moorhead mentioned it. On a personal level, was really happy for Ben to experience that success. He's a guy that has bided his time and been very consistent in his approach. And it's just another testament to him as a person, but I think to our entire culture. On both sides of the ball, but specifically offensively, that, next man in, when you get your opportunity, you're going to maximize that opportunity, and Ben did it. He's got a skill set, and you saw what he did well. He's a bigger body guy. He's able to create separation, and he's always been a guy that is very sure-handed and has excellent ball skills. So, with what we're asking him to do, he's going to continue to have success.
Let's actually take a listen to the first Bern Johnson touchdown with a follow-up.
Anderson waiting for it. Gives to Chase Edmonds, rather fakes, now fires and finds Bern Johnson in the end zone. Right pylon, touchdown for the senior receiver.
Now, Coach, a couple of weeks ago when Johnson was out, I specifically saw Coach Moorhead working with Jonathan Lumley on essentially the same route that he ran right there. it's very, fine. You have to be right on your route to knock that in. Are there any things that Ben Johnson did in the 4 to 5 weeks when he couldn't play, but that he did at practice, observing or anything like that?
Yeah, I think he's paying attention to what we're doing with what Coach Dupuy's talking to those guys about in the meeting room, what they're working on in their individual drills, and then paying attention and watching that particular play in practice. That play's been on the call sheet for 3 or 4 weeks now. It's a play to complement a run pass option that we use down in the red zone, and we were just kind of waiting for the right time to break it out. We had hit the slant against Holy Cross for a touchdown last year in a very similar play, and we knew that if we gave the slant whip, it would be the counter to what we hit him on a touchdown last year. So it was just a matter of when was going to be the right time to call this play. We did it, and again, it speaks to preparation. Ben was ready to go, ran a great route, created separation, and most importantly, caught the football.
One of my favorite plays, Drew, reminds me of that little Edelman out at the Patriots do. But anyways, we touched on the special teams before the game on Saturday, and they again set you up brilliantly multiple times. Can you just talk about the importance of special teams setting up your offense?
Absolutely. And I apologize to Coach Slutsky, the special teams coordinator, that he gave us, those short fields and we weren't able to cash in on them. But no, that's huge for us offensively. It's about starting field position. When you start on the plus side of the field, on the opponent's side of the field, the expectation level is to go score. Generally we do a very good job of that, capitalizing on a momentum-changing play, and that's the time that we want to be very aggressive on offense and kind of keep the pedal down. We tried to do that, and it didn't work out this time. But those momentum-changing plays, those get the ball rolling for us offensively, and we hope to add on to it.
Back here on Monday Night Quarterback, Drew Casey, Corey Miller with offensive coordinator Andrew Breiner talking about the recent Rams win over Holy Cross, looking ahead a little bit to the next game. But, Coach, the Holy Cross game, we've gone through it. It's a wild one. It's 41-41. Holy Cross misses the field goal, and I guess you can say the top of the first overtime.
Sure.
A baseball reference.
No, I'm a baseball guy.
You guys get it in the bottom.
Yep.
All you have to do is score. Does that at all change the game plan?
Yeah, I think it does. Coach Moorhead alluded to that. I think you play slightly more conservatively. It's easier to play conservatively for us because of the run game that we had shown to be able to generate all day long. But if we needed to throw it, we could have. But yeah, I think it would be just flat out not true for me to say it doesn't change your thought process at all. Yeah, I think you get a little bit more conservative. We have good kickers that at the end of the Penn game proved they could make a clutch kick. Yeah. We're certainly within their range once we gain a few yards, and so yeah, a little bit more conservative. But by no means were we sitting there saying we're playing for the field goal. We're going to run the football with the intention of scoring a touchdown. If they got us to fourth down, we'd kick the field goal.
It's hard to argue to give the ball to your best player. He is something special to watch. Looking at Lehigh, what is one thing you're challenging your offense this week to improve on and ensure another victory in the Patriot League?
I think starting fast, to coming out to a fast start. When you look at us historically over the last 4 years, we've done a really good job of taking the ball after the coin toss and going down the field and scoring a touchdown, just kind of setting the tone for the day. So starting fast, and what we've really talked about the last 2 weeks is having a better finisher's mentality, developing an intensity for that killer instinct that when you have a chance to put the game away, we do it. And that's what I'd really like for us to see, whether that's to put the game away in the fourth quarter when we get the ball back with 4 minutes left and a chance to slam the door, or if that's a statement touchdown coming out in the second half with a lead. Either way, I'd like to see us develop that mentality that we're going to finish a team off when we have the opportunity to.
Coach, thanks so much for joining us here tonight, and best of luck this weekend against Lehigh.
I appreciate it, guys. Once again, you do a great job, and thanks for letting me be a part of it.
Well, Coach, you're always welcome here. Coming up next, Inside the Huddle, Bern Johnson and Jihaad Pretlow join the program here at Applebee's at Fordham Plaza. Back here on Monday Night Quarterback at Fordham Plaza, it's time now to go inside the huddle with a pair of Fordham players on this Fordham football team that is now 6-1, 10th or 11th in the national polls, depending on which one you look at. Bern Johnson and Jihaad Pretlow. Guys, thanks so much for taking some time here on Monday night.
No problem. Glad to be here.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you for having us.
Ben, let's start with you. You've been battling injury ever since that Army game. You turned in a pretty successful game against Army, some key third down conversions. First off, how nice is it to finally be healthy and contribute this past weekend?
It's great. Obviously we all want to be out there, and there's nothing worse than watching your team during games. Luckily we've had a ton of success, and everyone's been playing very well. But it really hurts when you're not out there, and you work so hard, throughout, the off season, and you just want to be on the field. So it's definitely frustrating, but it was great to be back.
Jihaad, I'll bring this one to you. I mean, I think in my mind you were the defensive MVP of that game for the Rams. I know you had that interception on the near side. Can you just allude to what you think maybe are some of the problems in the pass coverage right now in terms of, 500 yards? I know it was 70 attempts, so you had that. You guys did a decent job, but the yardage stands out. Any problems there?
I think right now it's just a confidence thing. Come out to play against UPenn and let them have the amount of success that they had, and then to go against a good quarterback, Peter from Holy Cross, it's a confidence. Come out, he was firing the ball. We wasn't expecting that. We thought there was going to be more balance between run and pass. They really attacked us. So when you get an attack, you got to have as much confidence as you can to respond to the attack.
So Ben, back to you. Not only do you get back in the lineup, make some contributions, you make big contributions. You scored 2 touchdowns. Was there anything that you, Kevin, and the coaching staff were seeing? Think about that. Let's listen to the second touchdown that you scored on Saturday afternoon.
Holy Cross 33, I should say. Anderson dropping back, looking deep down the left side. Bern Johnson in the end zone, and he makes the catch from 33 yards out. Johnson's second of the game, and Fordham with a touchdown makes it 26-17 with exactly a minute until half.
So was there anything that you guys were seeing that did you expect going into the game to have those opportunities, or did it just happen in the flow of the game?
Well, we definitely believed we'd have some mismatches, really on both sides of the ball over the field. We believe we're a very talented group, and then it just goes to our preparation. Throughout, every week it's really the same mindset. I guess nothing really too special. The coaches, game plan very hard and put us in the right position. So, no matter who we're playing, we know that we're, going to be set up for success.
Ben, I'll come back to you. One play that we don't have on the highlight reel, but I was talking with Leighton Schneider earlier, was the play when you threw one of the defenders to the ground. I saw your teammates all get excited about that. Would you rather score a touchdown or absolutely throw a defender to the ground like that?
I would have to say probably score a touchdown. Maybe if I could combine both.
You could do both?
Yeah, that'd be perfect. Yeah, I mean, personally, my favorite part of the game is the contact. So absolutely, anytime, especially playing offense, usually you're getting hit.
Yeah.
So anytime you can kind of give them a taste of their own medicine, it always feels good.
Well, let's go back to you now, Jihaad. You've had a very successful season on defense and on special teams, none more notably on special teams than this past weekend. Special Teams Player of the Week on the Patriot League. Congratulations on that honor. You had 2 big returns early, or 1 big return earlier in the game, returns earlier in the season, but then there's 1 big return. Let's listen, and then we'll talk about it.
Is into it. A wobbling kick, a line drive kick that Pretlow comes up the field on the far side at the 14 before letting it go out of bounds. Cuts it back to the middle of the field. Has some running room here as he crosses the 40. He could go here. Crosses midfield. 1 man to beat. Stutter step crosses back at the 30. He's going to go past the 20. Can he get there? Pushed into the end zone. The pylon goes down. Touchdown, Fordham! Oh my goodness. Jihaad Pretlow runs the kickback, and he should have been tackled at least 3 or 4 times.
Oh, a dazzling play there by the Fordham special.
So, like I said, you had an opportunity against Columbia, against Penn, big-time returns earlier in this game. What does it finally mean to get a kickoff return touchdown?
Oh, it means a lot. I got to give a lot of respect to my little brother, who's actually 2 years old tomorrow. I'm talking to him earlier in the day, and he's like, touchdown, touchdown. The first thing he said. So I'm like, I don't know. He must have predicted the future. But it's special to get back in the end zone after 3 years, being not in the end zone and primarily playing defense, just stopping people from getting in the end zone. So just to have an opportunity to get back in the end zone, it was fun. And, it's special out there. I'm definitely hoping that there's more to come in the near future.
Now, I got to ask you, because you looked very fast on that play, and you were beating out a lot of guys. And I know Chase ran a couple of kicks off last year. That's changed now. You against Chase, dead sprint. Let's give it 40 yards. We'll do the 40-yard. Are you beating him?
Yeah, easily.
There we go.
Easily.
Yeah, Chase got speed, but I got burners.
There we go.
All right, so Ben, coming over to you now, the wide receiver situation is very young, very young. You're one of the seniors on the unit. How have you taken on a leadership role, and how have these younger guys reacted? They've done exceptionally well in 7 games.
Well, it just comes down to the culture that we have here. Guys, some of the older guys in the receiving corps, like me, Tony Petronelli, we've gone through this so much, and we just know how things need to be done. So we just kind of, try and get that down to those guys. They're new with everything. They have, a million questions when it comes to school, just, transitioning to college football. So we just try and set a good example for them. And, they're all terrific players, and they're going to have a very good career here.
How impressed have you been with Kevin Anderson this season, and were you surprised at all at how good he's been?
I'm absolutely not surprised at all. Kevin's, I'm extremely impressed. Kevin's one of those guys who he does everything right off the field. Hardest guy, hardest worker in the room. Last one in, or first one in, last one out. Mentality. He's a terrific leader on the field. So absolutely not surprised at all.
Jihaad, not only did you run the kickback, break up a couple of passes, you had an interception in the game this past weekend. What did you see on that play?
It's a lot of film preparation that went into that play. We know if we show them access that they're going to try to throw the quick out. They like throwing the ball to the out to get down the field. That's one of the quick plays and to get the ball out so they don't have to get hit. So I pretty much baited them into the situation, showed them the fact that he had access, and then once he threw it, I just took the opportunity. But also, going into that, there was a lot of help from my teammates also with the blitz, and once the blitz got there, that pressured them, and it just all happened at the same time simultaneously, and I was able to make the play.
For either of you guys going into this matchup against Lehigh, what are the things you guys taking away from last week's game against Holy Cross that you need to improve on this week to ensure another win in the Patriot League?
I think speaking from a defensive aspect, I think that we just need to go in there with confidence. Go back to the confidence that we had against Villanova. We need to figure out, if we need to put somebody on the team on Lehigh and say that this is John Robinson, prepare that this is the guy, number one player in the country, and think that that's the guy that's across from us all the time, then that's what it has to be. And we just got to dominate from start to finish, And I think that UPenn, we came out dominating with quick turnovers, and this game we came out dominating, and we just need to continue to do that for the rest of the game, and hopefully come out with another victory.
Yeah, Coach Breiner, offensively anyway, discussed this. For us, it's all about finishing teams when we're up. We really have to, we get up by 10 points or so coming out of a half. We really need to, put our foot on and finish teams, kind of, throw that knockout punch.
Guys, thanks so much for joining us here tonight, and best of luck coming up this weekend.
Thank you for having us. Appreciate it.
That's going to do it for Inside the Huddle here. Coach Moorhead will come on back next, and he will take a look ahead at the Lehigh game right here on Monday Night Quarterback. Back here on Monday Night Quarterback for the final segment of this evening's show. We're going to rejoin Coach Moorhead, the fourth-year head man at Fordham. The team is 6-1, all Patriot League games remaining in this regular season thus far, going forward for the team, of course. Coach, this weekend the opponent is Lehigh. We've talked about Holy Cross already, but what are some of the main things you look to take out of that game into Lehigh or to improve on?
Yeah, as we talked about a little bit earlier, we have to be able to start faster offensively and do a better job protecting the football early on and putting points on the board, and be able to sustain that level of success throughout the game, particularly in the third and fourth quarters. We've had a great margin of our scoring margin has been better in the first, second, and fourth quarter, not so much the third. So we've got to do better in the second half offensively. And then defensively, as we talked about, we got to do a better job stopping explosive plays. Did a good job getting off the field on third down, and did a good job preventing red zone touchdowns. But I think if we can do a better job limiting explosive plays, it'll help us incredibly.
How important is it for your defense to have a turnaround and put in a good game this weekend?
No, very much so, and it's it's been a little bit of a roller coaster. I mean, we've played some exceptional games of football against Villanova, against Lafayette, against some of the other teams. It's just so happened that the past two games have been a little bit below our standard, but I'm fully confident in our defensive coaching staff, to put a good game plan together for our kids to respond and come back and get to playing defense like we're accustomed to.
You look at some of the personnel Lehigh has, the main man being Nick Shafniski, their quarterback. Peter Puyos last week for Holy Cross was a dual-threat run-pass guy. Shafniski seems to be even more so. He's got near 500 rushing yards. How key is it going to be to contain him and force him to throw the football?
I think it's probably a little bit different challenge than Holy Cross in the sense that there's a lot more called quarterback runs for Lehigh than there were for Holy Cross. They didn't really run Peter too much as they have in the past with quarterback draws and read zones and things like that, but they do a great job with quarterback Lehigh quarterback misdirection plays to, where they'll run an outside zone with a running back and have a gap scheme for him, a quarterback counter, and also when the play breaks down. So it's a little bit more of a unique challenge because you're adding a number in the box anytime the quarterback can run the ball. it makes it more difficult to defend. On top of the fact that he's, I think they're second in the league in passing as well. So I think he's the leading rusher, if I'm not mistaken. I think the Bragg Lone kid is second.
He is the leading rusher.
I think he's the leading rusher. So it's a tremendous challenge.
Of course, a very cold and chilly day here in the Bronx today. As the season kind of continues and winter becomes ever closer, do you change your game plan at all where maybe we look to chase more or stay with Kevin throwing the ball? Or is it continue with that balance even though the weather's changing?
No, we're going to stick with that balance. Yeah. And unless a weather condition absolutely necessitates gale force winds, incredible blinding snow or rain.
Yeah.
We're gonna try to keep that balance unless Mother Nature tells us we're not allowed to.
Coach, last question from me here on Lehigh. Lehigh is a team that has been historically good in the Patriot League. Last year they had a significantly down year. They've rebounded. They've beaten Bucknell. Some say maybe they're the second best team in this Patriot League. How good do you think this Lehigh team is, and how challenging is it going to be to come out on top and go to 7-1?
No, it's going to be extremely challenging. Like you said, Lehigh's got a historic football tradition. They've been a team that's been atop of the league standings, years and years and years. And coming off a big one against Bucknell, I think their losses to James Madison. Help me out here.
They lost to. They're not going to lose to you. I don't know.
Their three losses are the three teams they've lost to have only lost 2 games this year. So I mean they're battle tested. They played against some very good teams, and it's going to be a very big challenge.
Coach, thanks so much, and best of luck against Lehigh coming up this weekend.
Appreciate it, fellas. Thank you very much.
Coming up next, we'll have some final thoughts. Then we'll wrap up here on Monday Night Quarterback. So back here on Monday Night Quarterback, you just heard from Coach Moorhead as he looks ahead to the Lehigh game coming up this weekend. And Corey, let's now go into some final thoughts here. Looking back at the Holy Cross game, we started really each interview with this, what a wacko game that was, 47-41.
You and I were saying it. We didn't know if our heart could take it anymore. It was just back and forth. It felt like Holy Cross, it felt like there was going to be an upset. Didn't it almost feel that way? But Fordham, to their credit, as we were saying, good teams find a way to win even though they're not playing well. And Fordham did not play their best game, especially on the defensive side. A lot of good aspects coming from the offensive side of the ball, but at the end of the day, a win's a win.
Yeah, we've heard a lot of things, Corey, about starting fast and limiting the turnovers and trying to hold the opposition to obviously under 500 yards passing. But you know what? Something that a couple of the guys touched on earlier is that we didn't, we stopped them from completing half of their passes. But when you throw 70 times, first off, have you seen anything like that ever?
I mean, that is a crazy number. 70 throws, 70 attempts. You mentioned the pitch count. I mean, it was getting up there.
35 for 70, 508 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 1 interception. And a lot of them were short outs.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking to Dave Barletta after the game, and he was like, how many attempts, any idea? And I was like, 70. And he was like, wow. That's insane. He couldn't believe it. I mean, and it is insane that Holy Cross really, as Jihaad said, they expected a more balanced offense, and it wasn't there. It was throw. That was the agenda. That was really all they were doing, and quite frankly, it worked.
Last thing, what do you think that Fordham really needs to do to win this game against Lehigh, improve to 7-1?
I mean, if they keep giving the ball to Chase Edmonds as much as they do,
they'll work out pretty well.
But yeah. I think we both know the defense needs to step up this game. Back-to-back weeks, they haven't been at their best, and they should improve. If they're going to want to get somewhere in the playoffs and win this Patriot League eventually down the road this season, the defense has to be there. You win championships with defense, and that needs to be thought of. But Jihaad said it. If they can get their confidence back, get that swagger back that they need, then they're going to be okay because they do have talent on that side.
Defense wins championships. Maybe that'll work out for the New York Mets. You never know. Coming down the stretch, defense tends to do that in multiple sports. So that's pretty much it for us here on Monday Night Quarterback. Just to wrap some final numbers from the Holy Cross game. Kevin Anderson throws for 194 yards and 2 TDs. Also has 2 interceptions. Chase Edmonds rushes 31 times for 162 yards and 4 touchdowns, including the game-winning 7-yard score. The receiving department, Robbie Cantelli has 4 catches for 58 yards, but Ben Johnson has 2 touchdowns on 3 catches for 68 yards. A special thanks to head coach Joe Moorhead, offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach Andrew Breiner, wide receiver Ben Johnson, and defensive back/kick returner Jihaad Pretlow for all coming on the program tonight at Applebee's. Next Monday, another edition right back here from Applebee's at Fordham Plaza. A look back at the Lehigh game and a look ahead to Colgate. We'll have our X's and O's segment with one of the coaches, and Inside the Huddle with some of the players. Don't forget to tune in to WFUV's coverage of Fordham football as the Rams take on Lehigh this Saturday. Kickoff is set for 1 p.m. with the one-on-one pregame report live at 12:50 on 90.7 FM, WFUV.org, and WFUVSports.org. Also, be sure to join us at 11:30 a.m. on Saturday for the WFUV Tailgate Show, live from Parking Lot A. Until then, for Corey Miller, producer Brendan Bowers, and engineer Sean Hayner, this is Drew Casey saying good night and have a good week, everybody. Monday Night Quarterback is a production of WFUV Sports.